Chapter 12, False Pattern. Tobias Rook stood in a familiar kitchen, now a pale and dark-haired young man of 15. His mother was there again, calm as ever, and still utterly certain of her own authority. She lifted her wand and spoke a charm. Lumos Maxima. The tip of the wand flared, bright as a bulb. Tobias watched her for a moment, then reached for the wand that had been his father's. It had been given to him for his 15th birthday, wrapped in a red bow and placed in his hands by his mother. He would have wanted you to have it, Guinevere Rook had said at the time. Shame it won't go to any use. Tobias turned the wand over once in his hand, then raised it and tried the same spell. Lumos Maxima. Nothing happened. He lowered the wand, his expression hardening with frustration. I can't do it. His mother took a book from the table and held it out to him. You don't need to be magic to understand it. She tapped the cover with her wand, and the book sprang open to a section on spell theory and the history of the Lumos charm. Magic leaves patterns, she said. Tobias looked down at the pages. After a moment, he set the wand on the table. After all, it was just a stick. At the Ministry Auror office, Harry and Ron were presenting everything they had gathered on what had begun to be called the masked thief case to Gawain Robards. Harry stood before the desk with the files spread out between them. He knows exactly what he's doing. There's no guesswork. Ron nodded. We're not looking for a common thief. We're looking for a specialist. Harry continued. The profile suggests someone with an extended academic background. A former ministry employee, perhaps, or a high-level politician, maybe even an ex-dark researcher. Someone with money or position. Ron folded his arms. What we're trying to do is anticipate his next move. Robards was quiet for a moment, thinking it through. Then he gave a sharp nod. Let's draw him in. Harry frowned. Set a trap. Ron looked between them. How do we do that? Robards leaned back slightly. Simple. We find the sort of things he'd take and we make them available to steal. Ron's mouth twisted. Well, we could put out more of the same and see if he bites. Harry nodded at once. Worth a try, Robards agreed, and the plan was set. Harry and Ron arranged a meeting with Mr. Hollis of the Diagon Dispensary and asked whether he would consent to a sting operation in his shop. They explained the idea carefully, and Hollis, though nervous, agreed. He was glad to help bring the criminal to justice. So a trap was arranged. The items that had been stolen from the shops, excluding the Gringotts blueprints, were advertised in the Daily Prophet as being back in stock that coming Thursday. Protective enchantments would be in place to catch the thief, and several Aurors would be waiting on site for an arrest. The plan was simple. It should have worked. Harry, Ron, and Gawain spent the early morning preparing the shop. Ron checked the stabilizers, while Harry finished setting up in a back corner near two small chairs they had dragged into place. Ron glanced at the shelves. Are the theft alarm charms in place on the stabilizers? Harry nodded. Mr. Rapp, Hollis looked up from behind the counter, nervous but trying not to show it. We open in 5 minutes. Is everything ready? That's everything, Ron said. We're set. Hollis opened the doors and went back behind the counter. Harry and Ron sat down and waited. A few minutes later, Harry's coin began to vibrate in his shoulder bag. He pulled it out and tapped it with his wand. Gawain's voice came through at once. All set in there? I see Mr. Hollis has opened. Harry tapped the coin. Yes, he's just opened, and we're in position. All charms are set. The coin buzzed again. I'll signal if anything is happening outside the store. Got it, Harry said. The morning dragged. An hour passed with no one at all entering the shop. Harry could hear Ron's stomach growling. In the next hour, 2 people came in only to browse and left without buying anything. By 11:30, Ron was no longer pretending not to be miserable. I need a sandwich, he muttered, or I'm going to die. At that exact moment, Gawain entered carrying a bag from Sugar Plum's sweet shop. Read my mind, did you? Ron said hopefully. Gawain held the bag up. Ron had already stood. He was halfway toward him when Gawain added, They're chocolate scones. Ron stopped short. What are chocolate scones? What are you talking about? Gawain looked blank. I don't know. Ron stared at him. The bag was gone. A few seconds passed before anyone moved, and then Harry looked toward the shelf where the bait items had been placed. They were all gone. Gawain's voice sharpened. What happened? Harry stood very still. We got hit, and we didn't even see it coming. Ron whirled toward the shelves. What happened to the charms? Why didn't they work? Gawain's confusion turned to alarm. What kind of magic is this? Harry drew his wand. A pair of vestigium. Nothing happened. His brow furrowed. That's odd. My wand's not working. Ron pulled out his wand and tried a spell of his own. Lumos. The tip flickered weakly and died. Gawain looked from one to the other. What's going on? Ron's temper flared. Lumos. This time, his wand lit brightly. Harry tried again. A paravestigium. This time, ghostly traces of magic appeared, moving backward through the room in layers. First came the last thing cast, then the one before it, and then the one before that. Ron's light flickered out. The next ghostly image they saw was a purple mist filling the shop. It all consolidated to a single point at the door and vanished. That was followed by a charm cast on a stack of glass vials. Harry froze, understanding dawning. The image broke apart again and again as he pushed through the backward trail of magic. Mr. Hollis stirred behind the counter and blinked awake. What happened? Again? Did it happen again? Ron stared at the fading traces. What the bloody hell was that? Did you see purple smoke in here? Because I didn't. Harry lowered his wand slowly. A paravestigium shows the last magic used in a space in reverse. The last thing first, then the one before it. He looked toward the empty shelf. It's a potion. A mist. Hermione's earlier explanation clicked into place all at once. It must suppress awareness. Gawain looked genuinely shaken. This is not good. We were ready, and it didn't matter, Ron stated. And the theft charm didn't work. I think it suppresses magic as well. Temporarily. Mr. Hollis, still dazed, frowned up at them. It happened again. Oh, did somebody say scones? Ron let out a long, miserable breath. Harry was already thinking through the pattern. Why would he go through all this trouble just to steal things? There are easier ways with magic. Ron looked at him. Are you saying he's doing all this? Harry finished the thought for him. Without magic, yeah. The ministry maintenance worker sat at his workbench in the dim light of a small room, sorting through a fresh batch of bottles and vials. The work was careful and methodical, and each object was placed where it belonged. A map of Diagon Alley lay open beside him, marked with handwritten notes and X's in several locations. He took a bite of a scone, folded the map away, and returned to his sorting. Then he removed his name tag and set it on the table. It read, Tobias Rook, Maintenance Office.